All right, so today we're heading all the way up to the top, you know, penthouse level in Bangkok.
Yeah.
And, listeners are here with us, I think, because they really want to get, like a real grasp on what it takes to snag one of these amazing properties.
Right.
And we've got a great blog post to really break down all the details.
Absolutely.
So our goal really in this deep dive is to go beyond, like the flashy brochures and get down to what you need to know about these luxury penthouses.
Yeah.
Things like where are the best spots, what kind of architectural styles are we talking about, what sort of amenities are there, what's the investment potential, and then, really how do you go about buying one of these places. So
Right.
let's get started, I guess.
Yeah, let's dive in because I think it's really interesting when we're talking about penthouses. It's not just about the height or the views, right? It's about a very particular lifestyle.
Right.
And especially in a city like Bangkok. I mean, it's a very dynamic city.
Yeah.
How does that shape the penthouse experience?
Yeah. That's a good point. And speaking of shaping the experience, the blog post actually highlights location as a key factor.
Of course.
And it points to three main areas for luxury penthouses in Bangkok.
Yeah, okay.
Sathorn Sukhumvit and Thonglor. So start with Sathorn.
Sure.
It's described as a prime location, but what makes it stand out in terms of Bangkok's high-end property market?
Well, Sathorn is, as you said, it's the central business district, right?
Right.
And it's historically been the financial heart of the city. And that's really cultivated this sense of like established wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And so the luxury there is a little more understated, a little more sophisticated.
Okay.
And that draws a particular type of buyer, someone who appreciates that discretion and that stability over time.
Yeah, so it's not just about being close to work, then it's about being in a district that kind of has that global reputation.
Exactly. And you've got all the multinational corporations, the embassies, and that's not just about convenience for those who work there. It means that the infrastructure, the residential offerings, are held to a certain international standard.
And that makes a lot of sense. And, the blog post also mentions excellent transport links.
Right.
So for someone who maybe hasn't spent a lot of time in Bangkok, how important are the BTS SkyTrain and the MRT subway, in making Sathorn desirable?
I mean, it's a sprawling city, Bangkok, so having reliable public transport is a game changer.
Yeah.
And in Sathorn, having both the BTS and MRT that close means you can be central and you can be in this, very busy area.
Yeah.
But you can also get to other parts of the city really quickly without having to rely on road traffic.
Right. So it's that premium on being able to move around easily that really adds to that luxury lifestyle.
Exact. Time is the ultimate luxury, isn't it?
It really is. Okay, so the blog post also notes that in Sathorn, you've got this mix of modern skyscrapers and these more established residential buildings.
Yeah.
So does that mean there's a good variety of penthouse styles to choose from?
It does. It's not just a sea of glass towers, those ultra-modern buildings.
Right.
You also have those grand older buildings that have been refurbished with luxury penthouse units. So you have everything from sleek, minimalist designs to something much more opulent, depending on your taste.
Okay, so there's a real range there. And we can't forget about all the high-end amenities, the fine dining, the bars, the shops, all within Sathorn.
Right. It's very self-contained. It's upscale.
Yeah, very convenient.
Okay.
So let's shift gears a little and talk about Sukhumvit.
Right.
The blog describes it as having this vibrant and diverse atmosphere.
Yeah.
So how does the luxury living experience in Sukhumvit differ from what we just talked about in Sathorn?
Sukhumvit is definitely more energetic. It's more cosmopolitan.
Okay.
Sathorn have that kind of formal business-like feel.
Yeah.
Sukhumvit is, a long stretch of shops and restaurants and entertainment venues.
Yeah, and it's known for attracting a mix of locals and expats, right?
It really is. It's a real melting pot of cultures and lifestyles, and you see that in the types of penthouses available.
Oh.
You'll find super modern, cutting-edge designs, and then, more established family-oriented residences.
Oh, interesting. So it's a bit less of a singular focus than Sathorn. It's more of a blend.
I think so, yeah.
And again, we have the BTS SkyTrain running right along Sukhumvit Road.
Right.
So how does that play into making penthouses in this area so desirable?
Well, the BTS along Sukhumvit is incredibly convenient. You can access so much of the city using it. So for penthouse residents, it means you can easily get around without always needing a car.
That's true.
And the blog also mentioned international schools and hospitals right along Sukhumvit.
Right.
Which makes it really appealing for families who want that lively city living, but also need those conveniences.
Yeah, so you've got that family-friendly element mixed in with that really buzzing atmosphere.
Exactly.
So let's move on to our last prime location, Thonglor.
Oh, right.
Which the blog post describes as trendy and upscale. What makes Thonglor unique in the world of luxury penthouses in Bangkok?
Thonglor has become like the center of cool, the place to be.
Okay.
It's all high-end boutiques and really stylish restaurants, and the nightlife is buzzing. It attracts a young and affluent crowd.
So it's all about the sophisticated, fashionable lifestyle then.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Thonglor doesn't have a direct BTS station.
Oh, right.
But getting around by taxi or motorbike taxi is part of the character of the place.
Okay.
Residents can connect easily to the surrounding areas, but they also get to enjoy that slightly more exclusive, slightly tucked away feel.
Right. So it's like a trade-off. No immediate train access,
Yeah.
but you're right in the heart of the most sought-after social scene.
Yeah, I think so.
And do the penthouses in Thonglor reflect this trendy vibe?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The developments often emphasize exclusivity and style.
Okay.
Sleek contemporary designs, high-end finishes, often incredible views of the city.
So it's really catering to a specific buyer.
Yeah.
Someone who values aesthetics and that access to the best of what the city has to offer.
Definitely. And it all goes to show that, location is a personal choice. It depends on what's important to you.
Right.
Do you need to be close to work or schools? What kind of lifestyle are you after?
Right.
Luxury isn't one size fits all.
No, it's not.
Oh,
and understanding the character of each of these areas is really the first step, in finding the right penthouse for you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's say you've figured out your preferred neighborhood.
Right.
Now you have to consider the penthouse itself.
Yeah.
The blog post calls Bangkok penthouses architectural marvels.
They are.
What are some of the big architectural trends we're seeing with these properties?
Bangkok penthouses are really pushing the boundaries architecturally, and what's really interesting is this interplay between contemporary design and Thai heritage.
Okay.
So as the blog mentions, contemporary designs are very popular, and there's a focus on space and light. Open plan layouts, huge windows, floor-to-ceiling windows, and they use materials like glass and steel and polished concrete to create that sense of spaciousness and sophistication.
And blurring the lines between the indoors and outdoors, right?
Absolutely. That's a big part of modern luxury design.
Yeah, and it seems like Bangkok is really embracing that trend.
Oh, definitely.
But the blog also mentions classic elegance.
Yes.
So what does that look like in a Bangkok penthouse?
Well, that's where you see those beautiful traditional Thai architectural elements coming in.
Okay.
Like intricate wood carvings, rich wood finishes, really ornate detailing, These penthouses have a sense of grandeur and history, and they offer a nice contrast to all the sleek modernity that you see in so much of the city.
Yeah, that's cool. So it's a way to connect with that local heritage while still living in a very modern space.
Exactly.
And speaking of modern, the blog also points out this increase in eco-friendly innovations.
Right.
So how are these luxury penthouses in Bangkok incorporating sustainability into their designs?
Well, sustainability is becoming more and more important, even in the high-end property markets.
Yeah.
You're seeing things like solar panels to generate electricity, rainwater harvesting systems to water the gardens, and for non-drinking uses, and green roofs, which, help with insulation and reduce runoff. So what's really great is that these innovations not only help the environment,
right,
but they can also benefit the homeowner, by lowering those energy and water bills.
So it's like a responsible kind of luxury living?
Absolutely. It's thinking ahead.
Okay, so it sounds like Bangkok's penthouse market offers a lot of different architectural style.
It does.
Whether you prefer that modern aesthetic or, classic Thai design, or you're really focused on sustainability, there's something for everyone.
There is.
All right, so now let's move on to the amenities. The things that really make a penthouse luxurious.
Yeah.
What are some of the must-have amenities in these exclusive Bangkok penthouses?
Well, the blog post starts with two big ones, infinity pools and rooftop gardens. And it's not just about having a pool or some plants up there. It's about the experience.
Right.
Imagine swimming in a pool that seems to stretch out forever.
Yeah.
With the Bangkok skyline as your backdrop, especially at sunset.
Yeah.
And rooftop gardens, they're incredibly tranquil, they're private.
Yeah.
They offer a place to relax, entertain, or just enjoy those panoramic views above the city.
It sounds like the ultimate escape.
It is.
Okay, so the blog post also mentions state-of-the-art fitness centers.
Yes.
What makes these fitness centers stand out from the average gym?
They're more like high-end private fitness clubs, but right there in your building,
Right.
you'll find all the latest equipment, interactive cardio machines, specialized strength training gear.
Okay.
And many of them also have dedicated areas for things like yoga and Pilates and even virtual reality fitness experiences or, personal training services.
That's incredible. So you have access to this world-class fitness facility right on your doorstep.
Exactly. It's all about convenience and high quality.
So it's really a holistic approach to wellness built right into your living experience.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Okay. And then there's exclusive concierge services, and the blog post emphasizes that these go way beyond, just basic front desk help.
They do. It's a very personalized level of service designed to take care of anything you need. So that could include, arranging transportation, booking reservations at the best restaurants, planning your travel itinerary, managing household tasks, even personal shopping.
So it's like having a personal assistant on call 24/7.
Pretty much the goal is to make life as smooth and enjoyable as possible.
Yeah, free up your time to do the things that you love.
Exactly.
Okay, so now for those who are thinking about the long term, what does the investment landscape look like for luxury penthouses in Bangkok?
Well, the blog post paints a fairly positive picture.
Okay.
Bangkok's high-end property market has been pretty resilient. It's grown steadily.
Yeah.
And that's largely because the city is a major hub for business and tourism, There's constant demand from both wealthy local buyers and international investors who want to own prime real estate here.
So it's a market with a lot of momentum.
It is.
And what about the potential for long-term appreciation?
Well, typically luxury properties in Bangkok, especially penthouses in these prime districts we've been discussing,
Right.
they tend to hold their value over time and even appreciate.
Okay.
Things like infrastructure improvements, the growth of the Thai economy, the fact that Bangkok is becoming more and more attractive as a global city, all these things contribute to that long-term potential.
Of course, the market can fluctuate, but overall, it sounds like the fundamentals for high-end real estate in Bangkok are quite strong.
They are.
Now, let's say you're not planning to live in your penthouse year-round.
Right.
Are there opportunities to rent it out?
Absolutely. There's a very active rental market in Bangkok, especially for luxury properties. There are expats, business travelers, people looking for high-end temporary accommodation. And penthouses with their spacious layouts, great amenities, and prime locations, they can command very good rental rates.
So it's a way to generate income from your investment.
Exactly. You can offset some of those ownership costs.
Now, the blog does advise that, you should do your research and seek expert guidance.
Of course.
Before making any major decisions.
Investing in high-end real estate requires careful consideration.
Yeah.
It's important to understand the market trends, to seek advice from experienced real estate professionals.
Right.
And maybe even consult financial advisors to make sure you're making a smart decision.
Okay, so let's get into the practical side of things.
All right.
The actual process of buying a penthouse, it can seem pretty daunting, especially in a foreign country.
It can be, yeah.
So what are some of the key legal considerations that someone should be aware of when buying property in Thailand?
Well, as the blog mentions, Thai property law has its own unique features.
Okay.
And it's really important to understand the difference between freehold and leasehold ownership.
Okay, so can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so freehold means you own the property outright forever. Whereas leasehold gives you the right to use the property for a fixed period of time.
Okay.
Often with the option to renew the lease. And for foreign buyers, leasehold is much more common.
I see.
It's also really important to understand the rules associated with the building or development you're buying into.
Okay.
Like, are pets allowed? Are there restrictions on renovations?
That makes sense.
And you absolutely have to hire a good property lawyer who specializes in Thai real estate law.
Yeah.
They'll handle all the contracts, they'll do due diligence on the property, and they'll make sure everything is legal and above board.
So expert legal advice is essential.
It really is.
Okay, what about financing options for international buyers who are interested in these Bangkok penthouses?
Well, the blog post outlines a few possibilities.
Okay.
Some local Thai banks do offer mortgages to foreign buyers, but they often have strict requirements. You might need a strong credit history, a large down payment, and approval rates can vary. If you already bank with an international bank that operates in Thailand,
Right.
you could explore financing through them.
Okay.
And some developers offer their own financing plans,
Interesting.
which can be more flexible, but you have to read the fine print very carefully.
So buyers should really be prepared to shop around and understand that financing might work a little differently than what they're used to.
Yes, definitely.
Now, we touched on real estate agents earlier, but the blog post has a whole section dedicated to their expanded role
Yeah.
in this process.
They really are more than just someone who shows you apartments.
Right.
They can be a trusted advisor throughout the entire buying process.
Okay.
So when you're choosing an agent, you want to look for someone with a good reputation, a proven track record in the luxury market,
Okay.
and experienced agents who really know the market inside and out.
Right.
The blog also highlights how important clear and consistent communication is.
Yeah.
And you should interview a few different agents, ask about their experience, their fees, and how they approach understanding your needs.
So you're looking for someone you can trust who will advocate for you throughout the process.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the blog post then shifts gears a little bit and talks about the lifestyle that comes with penthouse living in Bangkok.
Right.
And proximity to shopping and dining is mentioned as a major perk.
Oh, it's huge. These prime penthouse locations, they offer easy access to incredible dining experiences. Michelin-starred restaurants, trendy cafes,
Yeah.
high-end shops, designer boutiques.
So it's all right there on your doorstep.
Exactly. It's about convenience. It's about having that effortless urban lifestyle.
And for people who are interested in culture, the blog mentions that there's easy access to cultural attractions.
Right. Living in a central location often means you're close to Bangkok's rich cultural heritage.
Yeah.
Whether that's temples like Wat Arun or,
Yeah.
Vibrant art galleries and museums.
It's that mix of modern and traditional that makes Bangkok so unique. And what's surprising is that even in such a bustling city, the blog post highlights the importance of green spaces like Lumpini Park.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah.
Bangkok is this dynamic metropolis, but those green spaces are essential.
Right.
They provide residents with places to relax, to exercise, to connect with nature.
Yeah, they're like little oases.
They are, and many luxury developments are built specifically to offer easy access to these parks.
So you get the best of both worlds, the vibrancy of the city and the peacefulness of nature.
Exactly.
Now, the blog post also talks about exclusive developments to watch.
Yes.
So what are some of the new trends in Bangkok's luxury property scene?
Well, the luxury market in Bangkok is constantly evolving.
Right.
And we're seeing more and more developments that offer really top-of-the-line amenities, cutting-edge architecture, and prime locations.
Okay.
The blog specifically mentions riverside developments, which, offer these amazing views and a connection to the city's waterways.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful.
It is, and there's also growing interest in renovating historic buildings and transforming them into luxury residences.
Oh, wow.
So you get this blend of heritage and modern comfort.
That's cool. And of course, those luxury condos in places like Sukhumvit and Southorn are still highly sought after.
Definitely.
Okay, so there's a real mix of new and reimagined properties coming onto the market.
There is.
And we talked about real estate agencies earlier, but the blog post has a dedicated section about their expanded role.
Yeah.
So what does that mean exactly?
Well, a good real estate agency does so much more than just show you properties.
Okay.
They're your guide throughout the buying process.
Great.
So you want to choose an agency with a strong reputation, a track record in the luxury market, and agents who really know their stuff.
Okay.
The right agency can save you a lot of time and hassle.
Yeah.
They can find the right properties for you, negotiate on your behalf,
Right.
handle all the paperwork, and even give you access to listings that aren't publicly available.
So they really streamline what can be a very complicated process.
Absolutely.
And their expertise is particularly valuable.
Yes. These agents, they're on top of the market.
Right.
They understand the trends, the property values, the emerging investment opportunities. They can give you insights into up-and-coming areas and potential appreciation.
Yeah, so they're really your partner in this.
They are.
So once you've bought your penthouse, the blog post talks about personalizing your penthouse experience.
Yeah.
This is where you get to make it your own. And custom interior design seems to be a big part of that.
It is. A luxury penthouse is like a blank canvas.
Yeah.
You can create a space that perfectly reflects your tastes and your lifestyle.
Right.
You can choose high-end furniture, unique artwork, You can even change the layout if you want.
Wow.
And hiring a good interior designer can really help you bring your vision to life.
Yeah, it's about creating a home that's truly personal.
Exactly.
And then there's all this smart home technology that adds another level of convenience and control.
Right. Smart home systems let you manage pretty much every aspect of your penthouse.
Huh?
Lighting, temperature, security, entertainment.
Uh-huh.
And you can control it all from your phone or even with your voice.
Right.
So it's super convenient, it's comfortable, and it can even save you money on your energy bills.
That seamless integration of technology really makes life easier.
It does.
And finally, the blog post highlights the importance of private outdoor spaces.
Yes, in a city like Bangkok, balconies, terraces, rooftop gardens,
Right.
they become these precious outdoor retreats.
Yeah.
You can transform them into your own personal oasis, a
Right.
place to relax, entertain, or just enjoy the cityscape.
Yeah, your own little sanctuary high above the city.
Exactly.
Now, the blog post also touches on networking and community events.
Yeah.
Is there a sense of community within these high-end developments?
Developers are really starting to recognize how important that sense of community is.
Okay.
They're organizing things like luxury property showcases where you can check out new developments and meet other potential buyers and industry professionals.
Okay.
There are real estate investment seminars
Right.
where you can learn about market trends and network with experts. And many of these luxury buildings now host social events for residents.
Oh, wow.
So there are opportunities to get to know your neighbors.
That's cool. It's not just about selling a property. It's about cultivating a lifestyle.
I think so, yeah.
And finally, the blog post emphasizes understanding the local market by comparing different areas and buyer demographics.
It's really important to understand the specific character of each neighborhood.
Right.
Sathorn is business-focused.
Uh-huh.
Sukhumvit is vibrant.
Right.
Thonglor is trendy.
Right.
And all of that affects property values and lifestyle options.
It makes sense.
It's also good to know who the typical buyers are in each area.
Okay.
Are they expats, local business professionals, international investors?
Uh-huh.
And you should keep up with future development plans,
Okay.
like new transportation links, shopping centers, parks.
Right. All of that can impact property values.
Yeah, so knowledge is power.
Definitely.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of exclusive penthouses in Bangkok.
Wow.
We've covered a lot of ground,
We have.
from location and architecture to amenities investment and the buying process.
I think it's really fascinating to see how Bangkok offers such a diverse range of options for luxury living.
Yeah.
There's something for everyone.
And, as you, our listener, continue to explore your options,
Yeah.
we hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights.
Yeah, and a deeper understanding of what to consider
Right.
when buying a penthouse in Bangkok.
Absolutely. So as you think about all of this, what we've discussed today,
Yeah.
it raises a really interesting question.
What's that?
Given how quickly Bangkok is growing and changing,
Right.
and its amazing cultural heritage,
Right?
how do you think the idea of luxury living will evolve over the next decade? And which neighborhoods that maybe aren't so well known now will become the next hot spots? I don't know, but it's an exciting thing to think about.
It is.
Bangkok is full of surprises.
Really is.